I have said this a lot. I have said this a lot. In fact, I'm walking to the other side, so y'all need to go ahead and change the camera. Go give it. I've said this a lot, that one of the biggest mistakes, one of the biggest issues that I see in Black America, and this is not specific, folks, just to this particular story here, but one of the biggest mistakes that I see in Black America is that we have people who are in power who have never sat at the table of power. And so as a result, we have individuals who are in decision-making positions who do not have a level of expertise in the very thing that they are over. Y'all might recall when I was talking about HBCUs and the football contracts, and when I was talking about the lawsuit against Jackson State by the promoters of the Southern Heritage Classic there in Memphis, and JSU was leaving because basically Deion Sanders was like, why are we playing in this game, making all this money for other folk, and we're not making it for the university? And I said then that every HBCU president and the board of trustees should be examining all of their relevant contracts, their conference television deals. They should be examining their advertising deals, their media deals. And if those HBCU presidents do not have the expertise to do it, they should then go hire people who know how to do that, so you're actually maximizing your revenue.
There you go.
You cannot have board of trustee members, athletic directors, coaches negotiating deals in areas they know nothing about. Mm-hmm. And so that's why when I sat here and I saw this and I'm sitting here, it's just basic common sense. The first question, the person over the money, do they have any experience over the money? I would never put somebody over $126 million who ain't never been over $126 million.
That's right.
Ain't gonna happen. Years ago, Pastor Floyd Flake told me, we were at an event, it was in Chicago, and he said, when we first started doing deals for our church in Jamaica, Queens, he said, it might be $1 million, $2 million deal. He said, I would go to the meetings with our deacons. Mm-hmm. He said, yet when we start negotiating with the banks for $30, $40, $50 million deals, I ain't bring the deacons. He said, I had somebody on my side of the table who talked the same language as they talked, so they can understand I got somebody on my side who knows what they talking about, so they can't pull no okie doke on us because he speaks the same language they do. That's called bringing expertise to the table. And I dare say, and again, some of y'all can get mad all y'all want to, and I'm saying this because this is a byproduct. This is a byproduct of white supremacy, of Jim Crow, of racism, that one of the biggest problems that we have is that we have black institutions, black organizations, black churches, black colleges, black media companies, black companies across the board, black fraternities and sororities, where we are electing people to leadership when we know that elections are about who we like, who makes us feel good, who tickles the ear. Oh, we should make them president. And a lot of times they don't know what the hell they doing. They ain't never sat in the table with power. They've never walked in the room with power. They don't know even how to respond to power. And so here they are over our organizations. What are they doing? I've said this, and this ain't no disrespect to any one individual. And I ain't got no problem saying it. I don't care. I said this to Ron Busby, the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc., at their conference where I gave the keynote. I said there cannot be a conversation about black economics and civil rights organizations leading the meeting. Can't have no conversation about black economics, about black business, and the folk leading the meeting ain't never run a business. Don't know jack about a P&L sheet. Don't know jack about a balance sheet, cash reserves, investments, nothing. If you ain't never operated on a large scale, we can't have no large scale conversation. And so if we really want to be honest with ourselves, one of the greatest mistakes that we are making as a people right now is that we are talking about the collective power and the wealth that exists in Black America, but the reality is it is being unused, it has not been properly tapped, it has not been properly channeled because we got too many folk who are over the stuff who don't know what the hell they doing. I remember years ago that I was in Houston, our catering business. There was an event going on in Reverend Bill Lawson. They were having they were building a school for young boys. And Willie Alexander, black Republican, former Houston Oilers wide receiver, was the chair of the board, member of the church. And so they were sitting in the meeting, and they were talking about their board of directors. And they were talking about an upcoming fundraiser. And they were talking about who should they have on the committee. And folk were throwing out this name and this name and this name and this name. And Willie finally said, hey, y'all, I don't mean no disrespect, but everybody y'all mentioned that's nice and wonderful. But everybody y'all mentioned, not now one of them can bring a check. He said, we trying to raise $500,000. You can't put nice people on the board who can't bring no money. He said, that ain't how this works. And truth be told, we get a whole bunch of people on the boards of black organizations who can't bring no money. Either they own money or they don't know folk with money. And so all they are doing is occupying a seat with a vote, and they can't do nothing. The second time I was on the board of NABJ, 2009 to 2011, somebody gave us $10,000. And we had board members, they were excited. They were hyped. They're like, Roland, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm sorry, what do you mean? They said, you're not excited? I said, about what? They said, but we just got $10,000. I said, man, I appreciate that, but no. They're like, but I don't understand why. I said, I don't mean no disrespect, but I get $15,000 for a speech. They looked at me and they were like, but I said, you are head over heels for $10,000. It ain't 100. It ain't $250,000. It's $10,000. Then I looked around the room. We had like 15 board members. I looked around the whole room. There probably of the 15 people, 13 had never negotiated a six-figure salary in their life. Now, I want y'all to hear what I'm saying. I ain't being bougie. I ain't being elitist. I'm being real. At some point, we've got to understand you can't play. What's that line from the Ice Cube diss song, Big Bank and Lil Bank?
Yeah.
Big Bank don't talk to Lil Bank. You can't go to the club trying to buy bottles if you ain't got bottle money. I done told y'all, you cannot go to the Palm restaurant with Golden Corral money. Ain't no diss on Golden Corral. Been there, I go again. But if you, listen, my daddy turned 75 years old on April 25th. I'm going to Houston on April 23rd. I already told my sister, I'm taking my daddy and my family to the Palm restaurant for my dad's 75th birthday. I got Palm restaurant money. When I used to not have Palm restaurant money, me and my mama and my sisters and my brother, daddy would be going to Golden Corral. That's fine. Enjoy it as a family. But my point is this. We have got to get to the point in Black America where we are being honest that one of the greatest failures that we have right now is that we have people who are running our organizations, who are running our institutions, who a lot of them don't know what the hell they doing. Now, I ain't gonna have her bust nobody out, but Juliana know what the hell I'm talking about. She's the president at Bennett. I know she was like, why in the hell are these people on my board of directors who don't do a damn thing? They don't even bring in $1,000, but they sit their happy ass on the board of directors of one of two black women's colleges and don't do squat. I know you ain't, Julian, you ain't got to say, I guarantee that's the case. Jeff know. Jeff, how many preachers you know dealing with boards of trustees right now who don't know a damn thing? They don't know nothing about investments, building, nothing, but they sitting there trying to tell the preacher who has brought in talent or even members of the church with expertise and knowledge that you got somebody sitting there who don't know nothing, don't know nobody, but because they are in a power position, they have a vote.
Indeed.
I'm trying to get, I know a lot of y'all sitting here. See, my phone's over there, the computer. I know y'all on this chat message boards like, Roland, man, you always talking about money. Yes. Because we as a community, as Dr. King said in his book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, what he said when he spoke to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in August of 1967 at their 10th annual conference, he said, Black America, individually we are poor, but Black America, collectively, we are not poor. And when you've got Alpha and Kappa and Omega and Sigma and Iota and AKs and Deltas and Zetas and Sigma Gamma Rho and Sigma Pi Phi Boule and the links. We can go on and on. We can talk about Prince Hall Masons, Eastern Star. We can talk about all the organizations, men's groups, women's groups, churches, HBCUs, on and on and on. Somebody has got to be honest and willing to say, how are we managing even the little or meager resources that we have? Are we maximizing to our potential? Are we tapping into knowledge and expertise? If you have a media company and you are excellent at advertising, why am I over here talking to some damn shade tree hustler who don't know a damn thing about rate card rates, who know nothing, but somehow you letting them negotiate your ad deal? At some point, the shade tree mentality has got to, look, I get it. I grew up in Clinton Park. We couldn't take the car to a top line mechanic all the time. And there was a brother down Fidelity Road, and guess what? It was a big ass tree in his front yard. And yes, he was a shade tree mechanic. And yes, he would fix some stuff. But I'm sorry, when you buy a BMW or Mercedes, you don't go to the shade tree mechanic. And so the time has come in our organizations. We've got to be able to say, I'm sorry, if you don't have the expertise, I got to find somebody else. And let me say this, that does not mean that you've got to find somebody white. Because I guarantee you, if there are black people who are lawyers, who are doctors, who are engineers, who are marketing experts, who are PR experts, who can actually do the job. But what that also means is how we use our collective power. Look, I get it. Lippin Group used to be the PR agency for the NAACP, for the Image Awards. It used to piss me off having this white firm on the red carpet, didn't even know any of the black damn superstars. Had no damn idea. Then it went and hired Sunshine and Sachs. Okay, I get it. Major PR firm. But I'm sitting there going, why aren't our black organizations telling 2 or 3 black PR firms, y'all should create a joint venture and we can make sure you get the contracts to be able to build your capacity? Same thing. We are never going to move to a new level until we are honest with what we have and don't have. And there are just too many of our institutions that got folks running them and overseeing them who we like, who are wonderful, kind people, but they ain't got no business being over the money. Somebody had to say it. And this is one reason why folks didn't like me in high school. I remember being in high school, sitting there on Congo, and we at Jack Yates, and it's a senior class, and they sitting here around talking about, hey, let's go to Aruba, let's go to Jamaica, let's go to Mexico. And they having this old little silly-ass conversation. And finally, I stood up and said, give me the microphone. I said, didn't they just tell y'all ain't paid for y'all graduation invitations? So can we just be honest? Y'all can't afford to go. So guess what? Take your asses down to Galveston, enjoy the weekend. That's your senior trip, then come on back. They all were cussing me out. Guess where they went, Jeff? Took their ass to Galveston for the senior trip because they ain't had no damn money.
Yes, sir.
Somebody had to say it. I was in college. We were in our gospel choir, Voices of Praise. We sitting there, now look, I'm born and raised Catholic, so it ain't like you learn scripture. Okay, we sitting there, and all these folks, Lord Jesus, God, provide the choir robes for us. And they going on and on and on. And me being Catholic, I was like, got a question. At some point, are y'all going to announce a fundraiser? Because I just know Jesus ain't going to have just robes just show up out the blue. They all mad at me. They all mad. Oh, why you got to be like that? I said, I'm just saying, you can praise, holler, sing all you want to, but them robes ain't showing up till somebody come up with a fundraiser. See, somebody got to say the stuff other folk don't want to say. Now, Julian, you're an economist. And again, you were president at Bennett. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's way too much conversation in our community. And we got a lot of people who ain't got no business being over the money, who don't know nothing about the money.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I have lived it. I have absolutely lived it as not only in many capacities as treasurer of many of our African-American organizations where I could tell you stories, but I can't because people know who I was talking about. But in one capacity, somebody actually came and said, can you give my brother a job? And I said, no. And they said, why not? I said, because he ain't qualified. It's plain and simple. I have a limited budget. I can't hire everything that walks up off the street because they're related to you. Well, of course, Roland, my mouth is not as big as yours, praise the Lord. But I got into a lot of trouble.
Now, we know that's a lie, but go ahead.
Your voice is louder. How's that? But no, I mean, it's you know, this person's like, we have this money in the budget, my brother needs a job. Not thinking, I mean, we have to do long-term thinking about money. I mean, the only thing I said about the AME church is not blaming the AME church. It's going to take them decades to build back out of this. And individual churches didn't have anything to do with it. That national, whatever they call themselves.
No, leadership.
So, support your pastor who probably is tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars poorer than he or she was, a year ago. Support your pastor, but be very critical of the institution of leadership and the kinds of distortions that it causes in our thinking. We know better. Marcus Garvey came down behind some financial chicanery and the conspiracy of the United States government. We could go down and call the roll of how some of our organizations are flawed, not even flawed, crippled because of financial chicanery. And we have to stop with the financial chicanery. As you say, you cannot walk into, you can't buy a Lexus with Toyota money, even though they're the same car. But you still cannot buy a Lex with Toyota money. And so we have to be very realistic, stop, basically try to keep up with the Joneses and just try to keep up with ourselves. And the other question we really must ask, Roland, as you talked about your friends in the choir robes, that cracked me up. But when do we invest in ourselves? When do we say we can't have everything? When do you look at a budget and say, okay, this is what I can afford, it's what I can't afford? And when are we, able to be transparent about it? There's no shame in being broke. There is shame in being stupid.
Yes.
So if you know,
there's shame in when you don't know, just simply saying I don't know, or Jeff, when you're a leader and you're going into a meeting and you really don't know, sit there and shut the hell up.
Yep, listen.
Don't say nothing. I mean, I remember I was sitting here, we had a meeting with this major corporation, and I'm sitting here and folks jockeying for a position. Man, they went in here. Jeff.
Let him use you. Let him use you.
No, it pissed me off just thinking about it. Man, we sat in this meeting. After we had created this campaign that was like solid, they walked in this meeting and asked for $50,000. I just dropped my head. Man, we at the meeting and they sitting here going, what's wrong with you? I said, what you asked for? I said, $100 million.
Yes.
They were like, what? I said, that company got a $200 billion market cap. And you walked in there asking for $50,000 damn. They were like, I'm like, are you serious? It's understanding how to exert power. And unfortunately, too many of our institutions are being run by people who have no clue how to use it.
Well, this is, my brother's a historian. I'm the spiritual leader. But my brother's a historian, and what he would point out, what any historian would point out is that this is a lack of understanding our traditions and our culture. We are resting literally on the laurels of a generation, 2, 3 generations back. Yes, the AME Church was a model and has been a model for excellence. It's been a model for protocol. When we talk about founding the AME Church, when we talk about founding the NAACP, when we talk about people like W.B. Du Bois, when we talk about people like Ida B. Wells, when we talk about these great leaders whose shoulders we stand upon, there's a disconnect when we don't recognize that it is our responsibility to walk in the exact same tradition. That tradition is discipline. When you talk about the United Methodist Church, they have a book called the Book of Discipline. When you talk about the African Methodist Episcopal Church, their doctrine is the doctrine of discipline. It is discipline that provides success. Y'all remember Lean on Me, the movie, when Morgan Freeman's character said, enthusiasm is not the enemy of discipline. Discipline is really simple. Discipline, as it applies to our history and culture of excellence, is one thing. It's simply promising yourself you're going to do something and following through. For generations, we have had models of people who practiced vision, and they practiced the discipline that manifested the vision. The disconnect happens when we don't step ourselves into the space where we say the future generations need to stand on our shoulders. We can't rest on the laurels of those who worked before us and expect that we're going to see fruit for future generations if we aren't willing to do the work. April 16th, 2014. I got the vision to do this independent church called the Infinity Fellowship, bring people together across different traditions to do social action. That was April 16, 2014. Our first service was October, the first Sunday in October of that same year, 6 months later. What did we do during that time? We got articles of incorporation. We selected people who were experts in their field, who were looking for a like organization who could bring resources to the table. We made the extra step of getting a 501c3. We put a board in place. I'm the founder and chief spiritual officer, and I don't touch the money. We have accountability and accountability systems, an independent CPA firm, all of that before we even open the doors. We have got to set this space up as a community, as a space of discipline and excellence, because that's the tradition we came from. We can no longer rest on the laurels. So yeah, we're absolutely right. And it's not lost on me, Roland, that you took a step to the podium, to the pulpit to deliver this message, because you're absolutely right. We have infinite power through an infinite number of organizations when we decide to do things in decency and in order. You select people who are experts in their field. Bring them to the table. Dr. Malvo can tell you, she's a university president. You always want to make sure you surround yourself with people who make you feel that you have to step up as a leader. So you get bright minds in the world and get people who are experts in their field and they know what to do. Last thing, and then I'm going to turn this over because I know Dr. Omekongo's going to bring something fire. My wife shut down. She's brilliant. I love her. I'm sending a shout out to you, Kanitha, because you and the family always watch. Kanitha Carr is one of the most brilliant women I've ever met, and she was brilliant and beautiful before I married her. But she shut down an entire financial seminar that she was attending that was affiliated with the church with one question, and it was an innocent question, but it was loaded. This lady was teaching about wealth building, and she said, "What's your net worth, and how did you build your income?" And this lady paused, and she said, "Well, I'm still working on that. I hadn't reached the space." She said, "Well, can you show us your financial statements? I want to see where you are." And she said, "Well, I'm not really there. I'm just kind of teaching the philosophy right now." Everybody left that class because you're listening to somebody speak who has no expertise and proven fruit. That means that that's somebody who is just scamming you out of your money. Trust people who are experts, bring them in, and then do not be afraid to be responsible. What we're talking about is a failure of leadership. It's a failure of accountability. It's a failure of stewardship. And now you have an entire group of people who have dedicated their lives to this institution, whose eldership and future are now put at risk because an entire council of people decided to turn over their finances to one person who we have determined to this point has not demonstrated acuity and expertise in the area of finance. And this is what happens when we do not operate and we are not faithful over the few things that could lead us to be rulers over many.
I know we got Fit Lil Win up next, so my guest, just hold on 1 second. But I need folk to understand what I'm talking about. I've told y'all, I've probably now visited some 60 or 65 HBCUs in America. And I can't tell you the number of conversations that I have had with university presidents about some of these issues, and a lot of them had no idea what the hell I was talking about. And every single time I was explaining to them, you need to tap into the talent pool of people who are experienced on these very things and bring them in. It's time to get rid of these shady folk who are nothing but hucksters who are looking to just cut deals, cut side deals. Folks who sitting here don't have the rights to nothing, don't have the rights to content, don't have the rights to sell anything, and all they're doing is basically just sitting here doing a hustle. At some point, people have got to learn, I am no longer in the hustle business. I am in the business. Last night, I was watching the HBO docuseries, the HBO series Winning Time, about the Los Angeles Lakers. And when Magic Johnson, here he was, a rookie coming out of Michigan State, starring with the Lakers, leading them to an NBA title in his first year. And all of these shoe companies were coming at Magic Johnson. They were coming at him left and right. And I understand why Magic did what he did. And so Magic ends up signing with Converse, because Converse was the top brand. Dr. J wore Converse. What the series showed, y'all, was that there was a guy, a little white guy, who everybody blew off, who everybody ignored, who was walking around with his briefcase, who did not have a big old platform at the sneaker convention. He was walking around trying to get athletes to just pay attention to him and look at his shoe. And so this little white guy walked up to Magic and was sitting here saying, Magic, trust me, I can't pay you what Converse and the rest will pay you. What I can do is offer you $1 a year, but I can offer you 100,000 shares. And if we hit certain milestones, I'm going to give you more shares. Magic turned him down. He turned that man down. Magic signed with Converse. Magic later signed a 25-year, $25 million deal with Converse. Everybody was like, oh my God, Magic, you signed this major deal. Who was that little white man Magic turned down? His name is Phil Knight.
Phil Knight. Yep.
Who is Phil Knight? The founder of Nike.
Yep.
Had Magic Johnson stepped back and said, I'm going to take a chance on this guy right here. I'm going to get equity in a company of the shoes I'm wearing, not a marketing check. I'm going to get equity in the company. Based upon what Phil Knight offered Magic in 1979-80, and what Magic would have gotten in additional shares, today, Magic Johnson, who has a net worth, some say 300 to 600 million, Magic would have made solely from Nike $5.2 billion.
Wow.
Magic Johnson would be the second richest African American in America had Magic turned Converse down and took the Nike deal. Magic later said, because I grew up in the inner city in Lansing, Michigan, he said, we know nothing about stocks, publicly traded companies, or equity. He said, we were broke, so I took the money that was sitting in front of me. Magic said every time he drives past a Nike store, he kicks himself with the same pair of Converse that he got. Magic said every time he see a Nike store, he get mad because he realized what he turned down. Y'all, all I'm trying to tell y'all is one of the most fundamental problems that we are facing in Black America today is that when you don't know, you don't know. And if you don't know, damn it, go find somebody who does know.
It's 5 o'clock.
And if you don't know nobody who don't know, then fine. Go find somebody who might know somebody who does know. Talk to them, interview them, do what Napoleon Hill said, create your mastermind group to be able to say, hey, I got 6, 8 people I can bounce stuff off of. I don't know what the hell they talking about, but I think you do, and I think you do, and I think you do, and y'all advise me. Did y'all hear what I just said? You create you a committee of experts who can then offer your expertise. Based upon this lawsuit, had the AME Church did just what I just said, there's no way in hell they would have lost $90 million. Because had you created a mastermind group of people with expertise and knowledge, you would not have put your money in the hands of one preacher with no financial expertise, and now all of a sudden you see yourself now at a loss. Y'all, if we gonna be real, y'all can holler reparations all y'all want to, but guess what? If you don't know a damn thing about money, if they give you a check, it's gonna be gone in a week.
Mm-hmm.
If we really want to go there. So we have got to be real about conversations every single day about money, about houses, about annuities, about credit, about all of these things. As Dr. King said, as individually, if we look at ourselves individually, African Americans are poor when it comes to this country. Collectively, it's a whole different conversation. But you got to be willing to say what needs to be said. And it's a bunch of people running black institutions ain't got no business running them. Let's just be real. Congo, final comments, then we go to break.
You know, this is like the classic. First of all, when I saw the sermon was just boiling up in you and you were talking to the attorney. So I knew you were about to drop that knowledge. And, you know, this is like the classic example of when I was growing up, a lot of kids said that they didn't want to get involved with the church because, you know, the preacher was driving around with a nice house and a nice car. Like, this is the stereotype of that on steroids. And, you know, we can talk about all of the issues and challenges that we're facing in this country, but we have to spend a lot of time looking at what we're doing to ourselves in our own community. And the economics aspect of it is a huge portion of it. You know, Roland, yesterday I watched your segment on Black Lives Matter and the $6 million house and the story. And you were talking about how no one in the current leadership is coming forward to explain what's going on as it relates to that. And, you know, as Patrice was saying in her note, people will see what happens with the financials and everything like that. But we have this young organization, and we hope that as organizations start to grow like that, they're learning the lessons from the larger organizations. Because we're living in a society now where every single camera is on us. Whether we're talking social media, whether we're talking traditional media, everybody is looking for us to fail. So to continually put ourselves in positions where we are setting ourselves up to fail, with the Magic Johnson example, from our lack of knowledge, the AME Church, the lack of knowledge of the people around us, and the false trust that we put in people. How did Reagan say? Without trusting but verifying? We're setting ourselves up for positions of failure that are going to set us back in addition to everything else that we have to deal with in the community. So whether we're talking about a nonprofit, whether we're talking about a church, whether we're talking about a university, whatever it is, we cannot be googly-eyed by looking at somebody and their stature and their fame. What are you doing as it relates to my money? And how can you prove that you are willing, you are able and qualified to do this work? Until we handle those types of issues, we are going to continue to be our own worst enemy. And as it relates to the history, no one could put it down better than you did, Roland. And so I'm just hoping that current organizations like Black Lives Matter and the like, and current well-established ones of centuries of history really stop and think, really stop and reflect, because quite honestly, Roland, AME Church may not be the only one that may be seeing some lawsuits, because this could be happening in many of our other institutions. Indeed. In terms of our religious institutions, and this might just be the first drop in the bucket.
Indeed, indeed. So I just want folks to understand where we are, where we're going. This is about building our institutions to survive. What did I say? Beyond when we're no longer here. I am tired of having Black survival conversations. It's time to have thriving conversations. Yeah. I don't want to get a damn phone call from Julian at 6 o'clock in the morning when I'm on the radio in Chicago saying we got to raise $30,000. We're trying to keep these girls at Bennett to graduate. No, she needed to have an endowment, but that was already taken care of. See, y'all, again, we have surviving conversations. This is about having thriving conversations. And I know some of y'all mad, some of y'all are upset, but that ain't my problem. I done told y'all, if y'all want it, if y'all are looking for somebody who's gonna comfort you and make you feel good, y'all can watch Reverend Dr. Jackie Hood Martin on her Fulfilled show once a week. God gave my wife a spirit of comfort. She'll pray with you. She'll make you feel. She will help you out. God has given me a spirit of discomfort. My job is to make y'all uncomfortable. That I ain't gonna make you feel good. That ain't me. She'll pray with you. I won't. She gonna be right. She gonna be nice. She gonna bring the Lord. They ain't the spirit he gave me. That's why I do what I do, the way I do it. Because somebody got to give it to you straight, no chaser. Or Malcolm X said the only thing he like integrated was his coffee. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. That was a white television news, white cable news president told a good friend of mine, well, you know, Roland is like a strong cup of black coffee. That was the reason why they didn't want to sign me. Well, guess what? When your ass hung over, you need a strong cup of black coffee to wake your behind up. And that's what a bunch of us need. All right, folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?